Alright guys, we're starting a new unit today. Forgot my pen, let me go grab that. But our new unit is Unit 5, that's why there's a tab attached to the bottom of this video. So open your notebook to page 76. 76 is on the left. 76 is going to be labeled Unit 5. And it will be blank on purpose. 77 will not be. Go ahead and label 77 Unit 5. And we're going to glue in the tab. Okay, so I'm going to cut the extra off of my tab here. This tab only has 2 lessons in it, which I know is a little weird compared to normal. Normally we have a lot of them, but we'll get a new tab pretty soon after this one. So as always, we've got a new tab. We're going to glue it in so that this piece hangs off, because that's the point in it being a tab, guys, so that it hangs off over there on the side a little bit. So we'll go ahead and glue that in. And then we will get started on the lesson for today after we label our pages. Okay, so here's there's our tab, and we are going to be working on pages 78 and 79, so we're going to go ahead and turn those and label them. Okay, so 78 is 13.3. Solving absolute value equations. Okay, so there is the tab, the title for 78. Then you're going to need the foldable out so that you can do the first half of this lesson. And let's get started. Alright, we are starting our solving absolute value equations lessons. We're going to solve absolute value equations today. We will also solve absolute value inequalities eventually. This is a 2-day lesson, which is why you saw the day 1 screen. We're going to do this first foldable today. We will do the second one tomorrow, just so that we kind of space it out a little bit. Number 1 and 2 talk about solving absolute value equations by graphing. You are used to graphing them. We have done that before. It's been a little while, so this might be a little bit of a refresher. But to solve absolute value equations by graphing, we're actually going to graph the left side first. We don't even care about this part. And to do that, we actually need the vertex. So the vertex of that piece, if you remember, the not standard form, vertex form is x minus h, where h is the x value, so 3. The formula says minus, so it's positive 3. And then it's plus k, so this is 3, 2. I'm going to put a point there at 3, 2. There is no number in front of the absolute value symbol, which means that it is a 1 for a. So we just are going to graph up 1 over 1 until we run out of room. Remember, it's a good idea, especially since we're solving now, to go ahead and cover the entire graph. Arrows, because it goes on forever. Alright, we're going to graph the second piece. It's also been a while since we've done this. This is like, not x, y equals 5. We've got an x right there, it's not x equals. Y equals 5. If you remember, we've got a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of 5. So I start at 5, and it's just a horizontal line across. We have completed systems of equations already, so you know that when you have 2 lines drawn, that my answers are wherever the 2 cross. So my answers are x equals 0 and x equals 6. So we have 2 answers to this equation. So we need the answer to this equation. We are going to do the same on number 2. You need to take a minute and work on it yourself, so pause the video if you're working on this. Okay. We are, just like before, going to find the vertex. and the vertex for this, -4, because this is positive, the actual equation is minus, so two negatives made it +4, and -1 from this value. So -4, -1. Again, there's nothing in front, so it's an up 1 over 1, kind of like slope there. That's how A acts. A acts like slope. So we have covered the entire graph again. It's always a good idea to do that. And likewise, we have this 3 over here. It's the same as y equals 3. So we're going to go to 3. We've got a point that meets already right there. We're going to draw a horizontal line. And I've got my two solutions again. When x is -8 and when x is 0. So I've got two solutions for each of these. While that's a review of graphing absolute value equations, there's also a way to do it algebraically. We've got a couple more examples, so if you open up, but first of all, we're going to write the steps to do this. It'll be easier if we have steps for solving our absolute value equations. So step 1 for solving absolute value equations is to isolate the absolute value. So step 1, isolate the absolute value. What that means is get it, meaning these bars, by itself. That's what that means. So step 1, you're going to get the bars by themselves. You'll still have stuff inside these bars. That's okay. Step 2, we will then create two cases, or like two equations. We will have a positive one. Let's put negative over here. We'll have a negative one and a positive one. The reason that is because you have an absolute value. The absolute value of -3 is 3, and the absolute value of +3 is 3, which is why we have to have negative or positive, because it could be negative in here and come out as the right answer, or it could be positive in here and come out as the right answer. And we will then solve each equation. So there are 3 steps. We're going to go ahead and work with number 3 over here on the right to get those. I'll leave that there for a second in case you need it. You can also pause the video if you didn't get it written, or if you need to come back and look at this. These are our 3 steps that we will go through every time. Number 3. Step 1, isolate the absolute value. Here's my absolute value symbol. I don't care about the stuff inside at the moment. I care about what's right here. I need to move this away from the absolute value. To do that, I need to do the opposite. So it's currently -9, so I'm going to add 9. It's going to go away on the left side, and I'm left with the absolute value of x minus 10 is equal to 8 plus 9, and 8 plus 9 is 17. Step 1 is isolate the absolute value. The symbol, the absolute value, is by itself now. The only thing that's here is stuff inside. So step 2 is to create two cases. What that means is I'm going to write this down, x minus 10, without the bars, the absolute value bars, and equal it to a -17. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to write it as a +17. These are the two cases. The number is the piece that is negative. I'm now going to solve both. So add 10, goes away. So x equals -7. It's one of the answers. Add 10, goes away. X equals 27. I have two answers, but they are both possibilities. for that equation. Let's look at number 4. All of these are the same process. If you're working on this by yourself, it's a good idea to pause this video and work number 4 yourself. We have to isolate the absolute value. Here's the absolute value. We have to move this 9 over. It is again a negative 9 or minus 9. It's the same. So we have the absolute value of 6r equals 18. That's step 1. Again, step 2, create 2 cases. 6r equals negative 18. 6r equals positive 18. Step 3, solve them. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. R equals negative 3. That's one answer. Divide by 6. And divide by 6. R equals 3. There are my 2 answers. It just so happened that these come out as positive and negative 3. It doesn't always work like that, as you saw in example number 3. Make sure you pay attention to that. Don't get in the habit of just saying, oh, well, they both have to be the same number, just one's positive, one's negative. That's not always true. Again, if you're watching this to learn this, you need to do number 5 before you continue with the video. So pause it if you need to. Step 1, get the absolute value by itself. So subtract 3. Absolute value of 5p plus 1 is equal to 9. The absolute value bars are by themselves, so 2 cases. One where 5p plus 1 is equal to a negative 9, and the other where 5p plus 1 is equal to a positive 9. Again, we're going to solve the equations. Subtract 1 because that's the opposite of plus 1. So 5p equals negative 10. Divide by 5. P equals negative 2. That is one of the answers. Again, subtract 1. 5p equals 8. Divide by 5. And p equals 8 over 5. Go ahead and leave it as that improper fraction. Fractions are okay. Leave it just like that. At this point, we would normally stop before going on to the next one. So this would end day 1. We're going to go ahead and begin the second day in just a minute.
All right, now that you have finished those notes, you need to take your foldable and glue it in on page 78. Go ahead and glue that in on 78. Once you glue that in, you're going to get started on whatever the assignment is on Google Classroom. And we will finish solving absolute value equations in the next video. I'll see you then.